Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Deepwater Horizon Oil Spill case study review. Beginning with an introduction, the Deepwater Horizon Oil Spill disaster was the most significant marine oil spill recorded in history. The spillage was a result of the explosion that took place in April 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf is nearly 41 miles away from the Louisiana coast in the US. The rig was owned and leased to BP by Transocean, but it was owned by Hyundai Heavy Industries. The project was almost $26 million over budget and 15 days behind schedule. BP wanted to speed up the process and save as much money as possible, so they avoided all warning signs and didn't efficiently carry out their tests. Now we're going to go through a timeline of events before the blast in the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. At 12:35 a.m. midnight, Halliburton, the contractor for oilfield services, finalizes cementing of the Mississippi Canyon 252 well at BP. The workers perform additional positive pressure tests in the hours before late afternoon, where the liquid weight is put on the seal. At 11 a.m., at a conference aboard the rig, Transocean and BP top management argue over adjustments to the well's drill plan. At 5:05 p.m., in the riser pipe, an unanticipated loss of fluid is discovered, suggesting spills occur in the blowout preventer, a crucial piece of apparatus designed to shut off the well in case of an emergency. The final events were from 5 to 7 p.m. Negative pressure checks produce unpredictable outcomes, in which workers lowered the fluid pressure to check for leaking across the cement or well covering. One pulls 15 barrels of fluid out of the wall rather than the 5 predicted, creating further worries about leaks.
So now we're going to be looking at EGAD analysis. BP had downplayed the impact of a spill, and after 3 reviews, it was determined that it would be exempt from an environmental impact analysis. This violates 72.2a and b. BP's main priority was to save as much money and time as they could, which led to them not drilling a compliant well, violating 77.12. BP failed to repair or maintain the blowout protector and did not inform the MMS. 72.2d was violated. So some alternatives. Perform the environmental impact analysis regardless of the money or time. Make sure that the digging of the well is carried out with all proper procedure. Report the state of the BOP. Analysis. Finding out the impact a spill could cause would have been paramount in decisions made around the whole operation. 72.2 A and B would be satisfied if this was met. This would be theoretical data, however, and that wouldn't necessarily have caught the other infractions. Enforcing proper procedure would ensure safe work practices and would solve 77.1.2 and 72.2a. However, the issue remains that there was still more that caused this. The blowout protector was one of the key parts that led to the explosion of the rig. This violated 72.2d. If they had contacted the MMS about the BOP and made a corrective action, it may have helped save the lives of the men on the rig as well as the sea life, correcting this infringement but leaving open other issues. Combining all the alternatives could have helped stop the whole thing from happening and would cover all the infractions so far. The best course of action would be to combine all the actions. There was a huge chain of events that led up to this disaster, and by performing all of these steps, there would have been a better chance of avoiding it.
This is an investigation.
I simply was not.
This is an investigation.
I simply was not involved in the decision-making process.
What's your conclusion?
I haven't drawn a conclusion, Mr. Chairman.
You're not taking responsibility. You're kicking the can down the road and acting as if you have nothing to do with this company and nothing to do with the decision.
That was the court hearing in 2010 between the Energy Committee and the CEO of British Petroleum, Tony Hayward. BP, along with Transocean, is faced with numerous lawsuits. After the investigation, it is deemed that BP is 67% at fault, Transocean at 30%, and Halliburton, the cement contractor, 3% fault. As you can guess, the companies involved are faced with many lawsuits. The two main ones that align with our class are environmental law and tort law. Starting with tort law, the defendants are the injured workers and the families of the 11 crew members who died, and also the local businesses affected. The defendants failed to provide duty of care during the decision-making process. Therefore, duty of care was breached and plaintiffs suffered as a result of the blowout. The aftermath of the blowout due to poor decision-making breached many environmental laws, such as the Clean Water Act and the Oil Pollution Act by the Department of Justice. Due to having no accidental protocols such as this incident, they are faced with many fines and even criminal charges, paying up to double-digit billion dollars to different parties that suffered. If this disaster were to take place on Canadian waters, parties involved would have breached the Canadian Environmental Protection Act and would have been found guilty under the Canadian courts and liable to pay around the same amount.